This will be an important topic for many of us, and we can frame it in a question: is it good to be dependent? And of course, it would strongly mean, but depend on what we mean by dependence, right? Um, Now, when dependence is a sign of immaturity, should we avoid it, or is it good to show yourself being dependent and not to be afraid of being vulnerable, not being afraid of trusting someone, not being afraid to rely on someone? And for that, let's recognize the difference. When dependence is coming from weakness, and why? And when dependence comes from strength, and also why? How do we know it? How do we know that it's strength that's weakness? Um, the thing that we have to understand that though trust requires vulnerability and reliance, it is good to be self resilient. Independency is not bad. It's great to be independent. It's great to be able to do things by yourself and not necessarily need someone to do it for you. It's better to be way more efficient, to be an adult than a baby. So when are you becoming like a baby? When you and what exactly makes you like a baby? What? Okay, so you see, we have recognized that there is a utility to self-resilience. There is utility to independence, and utility is in that you it necessitates you to grow and mature, to grow, okay, and mature. When you need to do something by yourself, you also need a skill, you also need a knowledge, you have to acquire it. When there is nothing for you to do, and you over rely on someone else, you're in a state where you consistently provide, and there is no opportunity for your growth and for your development. That's why the dependency can be a sign of infantility. Because if you're constantly provided, then you're incapable of providing it for yourself. And it's not great to be incapable, right? So capacity instead is good. I don't know if I can put it here, but so incapability is not uh, efficient for you, but uh, it's also not only about that. Sometimes we dependency becomes bad when we attempt to hide our fears, our insecurities, our weaknesses, our weaknesses, our flaws. When we try to hide and to lie and to cover it. Because you see, though we have recognized that self reliance can be great as well as independency, and it can lead to maturity and growth. We should also then recognize that um, we are flawed We are flawed. We are imperfect. Oftentimes we're weak in many ways. We're not completely capable, all right? We are limited, okay? Looking truth in the eyes. And so therefore we can't claim excellence. So do I have space? We can't claim excellence. It's a lie. Claiming excellence is a lie. And in this sense, dependency is in some way natural to you because naturally you're limited. But of course, your position is to strive for independence, to strive to unleash your limitations or unlock your limitations, to strive to grow and develop and mature. Um, and when you fail to oh, develop, of course, this becomes bad for you. And so, when do you fail to develop? When dependency becomes an easy and comfortable choice, easy choice to make. You so when you start using others as providers and as means to yourself to your well limitations to what you yourself are not ready to do, then this dependence becomes your weakness because you don't progress, you don't grow, you can't provide it for yourself. um but in a sense of your natural limitation, to acknowledge that you can't be completely self-reliant is good. Though you should strive to self-reliance, you should strive um, to independence, but it's still good to acknowledge your dependence and not try to hide it under lies. And you see, that's how exactly your self-reliance starts to damage you. When you start attempting to hide the truth, because ultimately you can't completely surpass your limitations, at least for now. So you can't completely surpass your limitations. And if instead of recognizing it, limitation needs, say, and instead of recognizing, you hide, recognizing, what you do is you hide, you fake, you isolate. So you see, this desire, sometimes ambiguous desire for self-reliance, can put you in a position that you scared to recognize your weaknesses or unwilling to recognize your weaknesses. And this basically removes you from trustful relationships, right? Because then you can trust someone else with your weaknesses. and it's, of course, it pushes you towards complete self-reliance, but this complete self-reliance has no foundation, because you're not actually completely self-sufficient. You just fake your self-sufficiency, and unwilling to uh, accept the truth. And so, because you can't build sincere relationships, sometimes it costs you uh, with isolation, detaching from your detaching from dependency, right? From emotional dependency, from any other kind. So I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be uh, reliant on someone. So don't come my way. I don't want you, because what if I'll start to trust you? What if I'll start needing you? And then I'm losing control, and then I'm depending on you, and I'm scared because well, because then what? Because then I would need to recognize my weaknesses. So stay away from me, because if you come closer, I would have to, you know, I would attach, and it would go against my desire to be um, emotionally dependent. It would go against my desire to be, well, independent in any other way as well. So you would need to escape and avoid connections. This is a danger of uh, strong desire, ambiguous desire for self reliance, for independence. Uh, Still, as we recognize this, as we recognize limitations, and as we recognize the possibility of, you know, choosing to hide it, uh, choosing to fake it, choosing to isolate people so not to depend on them. So, as we recognize all these negative parts of it, we also should recognize the negative parts of dependence, right? Of being over dependent. Or baby, let's say baby. Okay, so, well, if you already are limited, if you are limited, you can ask, well, why then just not to, well, accept my limitations and then to rely completely on people? The problem is that you can't completely um, measure your limitations. All right? And when you make a judgment of yourself, you need to make it with a face, a good face, but realistic one as well. That you're perhaps, you have to give a chance to your capacities, so not to limit yourself. Because if you come into position, well, I'm limited, thus I can't do anything, I can't do it myself, I need others. Okay, this is, I need others to complete me. Okay, to complete me. Okay, in everything. Okay, I need others to complete me in everything. Well, then you lose on the learning how to do it yourself. And in another video, I've been speaking about um, I've been speaking about uh, what was this video on? I think this video was on, oh yes, on the value that you bring, on idealistic confusion. So you try to bring as high value as you can, but then you get rejected. Some reason, one reason for such rejection could be is that the other person wants, and I named it as autonomy and freedom, but it's also can be the desire to develop, the desire for independence, because in a big part the freedom is independence. The big part of freedom is independence. And sometimes when you want to provide everything to the person, the other part, the person himself sees it as the invitation to dependency, right? You provide an emotional support, but your emotional support can be accepted or viewed as invitation for dependency from it. And you think, well, I actually can manage it myself. And well, it's a good thing that you have to figure out if you can actually. Because if you won't be able to figure out, perhaps you could, and then you fail to learn how to do it yourself. Because at some point, at some point, this person might not be around, or any people might not be around. And then if you won't be able to do it yourself, you will die, right? Or something bad might happen. And so it's reasonable to desire to progress. It is reasonable to desire to break the dependency. And a lot of couples or just people in relationships have this problem. I think it's also pattern in parents and kids relationships, because parents and children have this conflict in oftentimes when children grow up, but parents are still controlling, but they controlling because they want to provide something of value. They want to the best for their kid. They want to love them, they be kind, support. But the problem is that the kid wants to, he still needs this love and support, but he needs something specifically to do himself. Maybe he needs to find it from another sources. Maybe he needs to put it in some achievements, right? So maybe the emotional support is not exactly what he needs, but he needs another kind of support, like respect or acknowledgement of him being grown up, right? um because maybe he can do himself this part. It's just that overcaring parents are not ready to recognize it. But this happens a lot in any other kind of relationships, and not only parents and children relationships. I can't do it myself. Okay, this is the position coming from dependency. Okay, and limitation. Okay. Versus I want or I need to learn how to do it myself. This is a great desire. Um, so, not always your emotional support, though valuable, is not always needed, because not all the times the person wants to be supported when he can regulate it himself. Not, we don't want to be treated as babies when we are adults. So when you over provide for someone and you don't understand why this is not accepted, this might be a reason. Perhaps the person just wants to build his own ground and to develop himself, to just be self sufficient. Because this is the opposite of infantility. It's self sufficient, or an opposite of dependency. Okay? Opposite of dependency is self sufficiency. And we understand that, well, it's not all right for adults to be infantile, immature, completely dependent. Though we are limited, though we are still weak, but we have to desire to be self sufficient. And still keeping in mind all the risks that go with it, risks of being afraid to acknowledge our weaknesses, so to fake it out, so to lie, so to mask it, so to hide it, so to pretend, or even so to detach from others, so to avoid others, so to make a distance and isolate yourself, alienate yourself from others, uh, in a fear of being dependent on them. Those are the risks of being dependent. And the advantages as well of being just honest with yourself, with limitations of self sufficiency. And thank you for watching this video.